exist. I wondered what would change. I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons.
Our director of schools. This is 1100 WSGI. I'm LaVern, and this is One Street Over. Welcome to it. We're back to school today. I say yay. I know the kids are going, Well, it's so funny because yesterday I thought, I was absolutely prepared for us not to, because I knew what the back roads looked like.
Right.
And that's what people have to take into consideration. So let's just start there, because I know that's a thing for everybody's like, why didn't we go yesterday?
Right.
And I appreciated Mr. Heinerman going and showing video of the roads.
Mm-hmm.
They took video, and it's
Right.
Here's why we're not going.
Right.
And so I kind of was thinking there's a chance we might not make it today, but I really thought, I bet they'll do it with bus driver discretion.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you did.
Exactly.
Oh.
We, coming back from Christmas break, first of all, hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas break, and that 2-week time, especially for high school teachers, you get that change of semester and change of classes, and you get ready for a new group of students. And then when we came in last week, had a professional development day scheduled for everyone and everything. So, we were ready to kind of get back on track. And the weather kind of, messed that up a little bit. Just didn't exactly know how that day was going to turn out.
Mm-hmm.
We'd started off with a 3-hour delay, and we're going to do professional development with teachers at about noon. And we started watching the weather about 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and drove through some back roads, and particularly in the south end of the county, it was snowing, just, very hard.
Yeah.
And I'm a planner, and I think a lot of people know that. And, to change directions in the middle of the day is something that's, I don't like to do. But when you get out on the roads and you see that traffic is starting to slow down, the little pile up on the sides of the roads, and especially on the back roads, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I think Monday, I'm thinking we drove about 45 miles Monday, just looking at some of the back roads, particularly in the south area. And we made that call that staff would just go ahead and stay home and enjoy that extra day of break. And we worked in our office to reschedule that and how that was going to look. And then to be able to get in 3 days to start the new semester with folks. So I know teachers, elementary schools had the chance to get students back in and kind of get them reacquainted with that. And hopefully our high school teachers had an opportunity to meet their new students that were coming into their classes for second semester. And then there was no surprise about last Friday. I think my only surprise, don't know about where you live, but my only surprise was I don't think it was as much as they had predicted for us.
Right.
There was I think somewhere between 5 and 8 inches predicted in some areas. In my house, I think we probably got around 3, maybe 3.5. But the thing that I found interesting was I never really saw the buildup on roads like normal. When you'd expect a 3.5 to 4 inch snow and things like that. I attribute that to I live in the city limits of Springfield, so I think the city the city parks recreation, the people who are out, the public works people, that did a wonderful job of going through town, preparing the roads so that it didn't stick in the first place, and then getting out and doing some work to get the roads into the place that they needed to be. So public works, shout out to those guys. we stay in constant contact with EMA, EMS, sheriff's office, police departments, and things like that. So it was, the Friday was not a surprise. And then I guess my biggest surprise was late Saturday afternoon when you look out and see most of it's gone and most of it's off the roads. And we made some church decisions about church on Sunday morning, and we're able to go and things like that. And so, as we went through the day on Sunday, I was kind of like you. I was hoping we would be back in school on Monday, but again, we depend upon. It's not just a decision that's taken very lightly. I mean, we sent an email to all of our houses of everybody that's in Power School. And again, just as a reminder to folks, if your contact information is not up to date in Power School, that is our main way of communicating with you. That's the people need their a phone number or two, and it won't send duplicates out. So if you have multiple children, and you're only going to get one call, you're not going to get spam. We're not going to sell your information. That's just our main way of communicating with you. And then, same thing with telephone numbers and an updated email address, because we send lots of information that way. And we explained in an email that we sent, I guess is back the first week of December, knowing the winter weather was coming on, but just the process that we go through, and then the channels that we release that information. We can't answer. We have nearly 12,000 students. We can't answer 11,000 phone calls coming in. What are we going to do tomorrow, and how are we going to do? So we have that calling system, School Messenger, which allows us within about a period of 30 minutes to, through technology, to send those calls out to homes. And so again, that's our primary way of contacting people. We use Twitter, we use the local radio, we use the local television stations, but that's how we get our information out to folks. And so, as we looked at roads on Sunday afternoon, we actually get out and physically drive roads. And so, we get in our cars after the melting and things. And I was hoping we could go. And then, it doesn't take but one or two roads for you to drive down, and you realize you're in trouble, and this is not a good idea. And, at our age, we're experienced drivers. We've driven a long time and been driving, but we know our buses are a different animal. They're harder to manipulate. They're starting and stopping and letting students on and off and things like that. So we take into consideration that. We take into consideration patches of black ice and bridges and overpasses. I'm not trying to sound like a weatherman, but we know those are the places that are there.
It's something that you have to consider.
And those are all the things that we look at. And so we do. We look at the safety of our staff who are going to be driving in, and again, there's some that live out of county, some that live here in county, and looking right there in the city of Springfield and the city of Greenbrier and places just, the roads were clear, and not only clear but dry, just perfectly dry. And so those areas there, but it doesn't take long to get just a minute or two off of a main road into a back road. And I was talking to one of our board members last night, and he said, thought everything was great, and he pulled up to the top of a hill and said he saw a couple of cars over in ditches and things. So that was even last night after, not only the first day, but the second day of intense melting. So this morning, again, we've looked at the roads and looked at patches, and I think even in the roads that we're concerned about, there's some tracks in and things like that. So, we've told bus drivers use their discretion, and I know that's kind of a vague for some folks, but we want a bus driver to feel completely comfortable driving down that road, knowing that he or she feels very safe driving down there if he has to make a stop on a hill, either up or down that hill. And, they know their routes very well. They can tell you every detail about their routes, and, ways that we may know the names of roads that they go on, but they can tell you by the second big trees here where we do this, or by the fork in the road and the curve in the road. So they know areas that they can go and that they can feel comfortable traveling. And what we've told them is, if you don't feel comfortable going down a road, just alter your route. Go around that road. Don't go there. So I know several of them were out driving in their cars and their vehicles yesterday to see, okay, I don't need to go that way.
Well, and I was just trying to pull up the list that he had. He had a list. Did you see that list he put out of those roads?
I knew he was going to, and he told
you
me
go ahead and keep talking, and that's what I'm pulling up right now.
He said there were some roads in particular that we know we didn't need to go down. And again, I think another great tool for our families that transport their students via bus, we have an app called Find My Bus, and it's a bus locator, and so it's GPS activated. And so you can register on that app, and you can set a radius of where the bus would be coming by your house.
Yeah.
So,
That's pretty cool.
it
Yeah.
is, and I think that saves so many kids and so many families from standing out in the rain, standing out in the cold. And again, we're not waiting until the bus comes directly in front of your house, but I think the standard setting is about a mile, mile and a half. So when I know the bus is within a mile of my house, it gives me an alert, and so I can okay, get my coat on, get outside, be ready for the bus when it gets to the house. And obviously, if this morning and somebody's not getting that signal from their app, and they'll know, the
Hey,
bus
the
is
bus
not
isn't
coming
coming.
here.
Yeah.
They can check our transportation office, and they can make that call to transportation and see, is the bus really coming down this route? And we have two-way radios on all of our buses and GPS, so our transportation office will know where those buses are and be able to locate those. And again, if there's a road that we know that we couldn't travel down, it's identified for us as much as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Again, we don't want to replace what we think as district leaders as that bus driver who's making that actual drive down that road. So if he thinks he or she can't go down there, we don't want them to.
Right.
And I'd say the same thing to our young drivers. I know I had a December birthday long time ago when I got my driver's license,
Yeah.
and we
too.
we were all eager to get out and start driving. But a young driver that doesn't have the experience and doesn't think I need to slow down over some bridges or curves or places that some black ice might accumulate. It's okay for them to call our transportation office and say, I think I'm going to need to ride a bus the next day or two or so,
Yeah.
or maybe just today. And we'll get them on a bus. We'll get them to school the best we can. We're not asking students to take unnecessary risks. But certainly if they are a student who's living in that school zone, we expect them to, that it's their responsibility to be at school. Transportation is that option that we provide for families. And I think about 55 to 60% of our families do take advantage of transportation, which is great. And, that's those ladies and gentlemen that drive those buses. Most of our buses hold anywhere between 65 and 85, 90 passengers. And, it's hard enough for me to drive, just my vehicle. But when you think about, sitting down and all the traffic and everything that has to go along, and then the students that are sitting behind us and, either, getting ready to go to school, coming home from school and things that they need to do, that's quite a challenge for those drivers. And I know if Mr. Heideman's listening this morning, what he's going to ask us is, anybody that is interested in driving a bus, we can get
They
them.
can use you.
We can get them trained. We can get them set up, and if they already have their license, we can get them going. If they don't, we will certainly train them and help them go through the testing to get that license to do that. But that's just the tip of what decisions that are gone in there. We're on a text with other superintendents in our area, and we don't make decisions based on what other people are doing, but it's good to know that, this county is going late or this county's going on time. And we look, and each of our counties are unique. And so it's impossible to say, well, just because, I heard some people say yesterday, Sumner County's open. Well, that's great. I'm glad Sumner County was open. But, we just knew we could not.
Right.
And, the other piece of that, I think that people find curious is just, they say, well, let's just call school off and that's the end of it. Well, when we finally, jointly make the decision between transportation, maybe EMA services, our other assistant directors of schools and things like that, it's about a 45-minute process for us for me to sit back and say, okay, school, I feel comfortable that school's closed. Because again, we talked earlier about the school messenger app.
Yeah.
And so that physically takes you sitting down at a computer, typing in your message, having it call, you record that message, and, it's like our answering machines. You have to listen to it and save it and all that. You go through a list and select the people's families that you want to send it to. So making those selections and doing that's about a 5 or 10 minute process in and of itself. We do the same thing right over again because our messenger app has the ability to turn around and translate to our Spanish-speaking families. And so, that's a neat opportunity for those families that don't understand English language and are learning the English language. But we turn around, re-record the message, and then it translates that into Spanish for those families. And so they can get that message in Spanish. And then we start next. We get the message out to all of our administrators. So we email our administrators and let them know to be expecting calls and be thinking about those things. Then our next process is getting on television and radio. And every station has a different process for that.
Oh, yes.
And different usernames and passwords. And so, we have to pull out the magic book and find the username and password for that particular station, put it in. And again, they're all as different as you can imagine. And some are just easy one click, close or open and a little here or there. And then some you have to sort through lists, and some you have to do a lot of typing yourself.
Right.
So that's a little bit about the process. But again, it sounds, sometimes it is a 30, 45-minute process just from the time I feel like, okay, I'm through now and I can sit back and we are really closed. And then what are we going to do?
Right. And that's the thing. I wanted to open with that because that's absolutely the thing everybody's questioning. And they're like, why did we not go? Why are we going today? And all of that. And so I thought that would be a perfect way to start today. I will say this. I did pull up the list. And here are the list of roads they're still concerned with. Turnersville Road, Galls Road, Ridge Road, Reeder School Road, Doris, Edgar Dillard, Smiley Hollow, that doesn't surprise me, Dividing Ridge, Horseshoe, Covington, and Hall. So that list, if you go to RCS Transportation, Mr. Heineman put that up about 12 hours ago, and so that's that tells you these are roads that if the bus driver looks down them and goes, I don't think I can drive that, you may not have a bus coming by your house.
Right.
Now, as a teacher, here's my question: we're real strict about attendance in this county.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
we stay on it.
Yes.
If a kid is on one of these roads and cannot get to school, what does that do for because I guarantee you I will get that question today. I can almost guarantee you my road was bad.
Right.
Something like that. Would that count? How will that count for an absence?
The principals have the option at their building level, to document either excused or unexcused. And so,
Okay.
to me, obviously, if your name's on that list and
One of your roads, if
and
your
you
road's
have an
on
option
there,
to do that, the principal has the option to look at that and see, is that an excused absence or unexcused absence? I know probably the next question is, well, what about exam exemptions? Those are non-dependent upon whether it's excused or unexcused. So, if you're absent, you're absent. And so, the grace that we give in that policy is, you have 3 absences or 2 absences to be exempted. Right. So you do have some flexibility, and if you have to use that day, we understand that.
Right.
It's interesting as you read through that list, being a county resident for a long time, some of those in the north part of the county, some of those in the very south part of the county, and some over in the east part of the county, just the ones that I heard and registered with me. And so, it shows it's not all isolated to one area, and sometimes we get that. But I heard some East Robertson routes. I heard some White House routes. I heard some Joe Burns and Cedar Hill routes, and I heard some Greenbrier routes in there. So I think it covers, it shows that there are some patches out there all throughout the county.
That's interesting because there was a few I recognized, but most I did not because this is not my home area,
Right.
or original home area. It's how long have you got to be somewhere before it becomes your home?
Right.
We're talking with Dr. Danny Weeks. He is our director of schools here in Robertson County. Again, the elephant in the room was school closings because we've just been on our first round of that, and it may be our only round. That's one of those things you never really know.
It is,
and
while we're on the topic, I guess we should go ahead and talk about there's the concept of snow days and and banked snow days, and how does that really work? And so, when our calendar is approved, and again, I'm thankful for a board that has vision and has foresight to help families plan. And so our calendars, as you know, are planned out 2 years in advance. So we know now when graduation is going to be in 26, 27. We're out that far, and we know when holidays are going to take during that school year, and how it sounds foreign to us to think year 2027, but we know what that is. So families can plan their vacations and know when Christmas breaks are, and know when spring and fall breaks are, and things like that. So at the bottom of every one of those calendars, it shows how many banked snow days we have. And so I use the term, it's like buying insurance. So our students go a little bit extra time every day, And so by doing that, the state allows us to stockpile or bank up to 13 days is what we could use.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so when we take some professional development days for staff to come in and some work days for teachers to come in, we're using a portion of those days. But typically we set aside 9 or 10 days throughout the calendar that we can use for snow days. So last Friday, yesterday, those are two of our banked snow days that are built up. And so we go through, and that's a part of the procedure that we look at of how many snow days that we have used during that year. And that helps, that tells us how many days that we have left before we have to start worrying about makeup days and different things like that, or making appeals to the Commissioner of Education. And, as we're counting, we count 2. That doesn't mean if we run out, we're going to go to school automatically, because again, we have events all throughout the year that are inclement weather days. So, we've had, severe flooding. We've had, tragedies that happen in our community that sometimes we have to close school for. And so those all fall under that category of banked school days. But it's been a long time since I think we've run out of those. But I remember we were having that conversation in the office yesterday. I think it was back in the late 70s. I think we may have gone back to school a half day right after Christmas, and not for another 6 weeks or so.
Wow.
So it was just
Wow.
a long time.
Yeah. I can remember something like that up in my area, because we had just a real extended snow time.
Right.
And we still got out and practiced basketball, though.
Right.
That was back when they would let us do that.
Right.
But because we had a basketball reunion recently, and we were all talking about that as the snow was coming in. But exactly, man, 6 weeks. I didn't remember it being that long.
It was a long time,
period of
and
time.
just and again, having to make up days. I remember having to go to school on some Saturdays, and summer got extended. The time that we got out of school. I know it was into June, and I guess in my teaching career, I think we've always been out of school on on or before Memorial Day.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of one of the bookends that we put on our calendars,
Right.
that we always try to end there. But, if we were to completely run out of our 9-10 snow days that we have, then we have to appeal to the state to ask us what, and sometimes they'll say, yes, it's been a natural disaster, you don't have to make it up. Or sometimes we have to look at those severe cases of, do we go to school on Saturdays? Can we imagine doing that, or taking away a day from spring break or something like that, or extending the year? And those are not good answers for any of us, right? And so it's again it's a foresight that our school board has in helping, as we design those calendars and as we plan those calendars to build that in. And then, of course, the other question that often comes with that is, what happens if you don't use snow days? Well, unfortunately, it's like buying insurance. If we buy our car insurance, we buy our house insurance, and we hope we never use it.
Right.
And that's I'd say the consequence, but that's what happens when you go to school those extra few minutes every day. You build up that time, and then if you don't get any snow days and you don't get any inclement weather days, then you just contributed to the cause.
There you go. I love it. Well, that just really, I'm glad you really unpacked all that for us, because that helps me too as a teacher, because the kids ask me.
Yes.
And I'm not sure, exactly how to respond, but that certainly does help.
Here's my last little tip.
Okay.
A lot of people, we go through the year, we think how many days, is this day number 2, is this day number 3, day number 4, and we keep up with that very carefully in our office. But if somebody needs just a little reminder of when that is, you can check our Twitter account. And so when the message goes out that says Robertson County schools are closed, or whatever it says, there's some snowmen out at the very end of that message. That's the number of days that we've been out.
Okay. Okay. That's great. The little snowman market.
keep
I
up
love
with
it.
that.
That's
So,
great. I love it.
that
And
helps us.
when you look at what we had this week, if the temperatures, I think a lot of it, when we talk about accumulation, I was talking with Bill Jones, he's our local weather expert, and he was saying that the temps were just warm enough that some of it was coming down, but it was melting as it hit the ground. And while it was accumulating, there was a lot of accumulation that melted just as it hit. So we had a lot of melt happening the day of the snow. And so if we had gotten a couple of more inches, and those temperatures stay just a little bit colder, we would still be out.
Right.
That's just all there is to it. It's like the kids were asking me last week, what this, what that. And I said, well, here, and I just kind of unpacked it for them. Well, it was so funny because as I was watching it from my old traffic reporter days, I knew what was coming Monday. I knew we wouldn't be in school. I mean, I just could see it. And so the kids on Thursday, they're like, are you sure we won't be here tomorrow? I said, guys, I don't know, but I said, if looking at it from the reporter in me, if we're in school tomorrow, you can hit me in the face with a pie. And they were like, we want to go now, And I said, I'll bring them. And it was so funny.
I think that was after you and I had already talked, and I'd already told you we were going to be out of school with it.
Oh, yeah. No, actually, but I mean, no, it was early. It was early in the day because one of the kids even said, well, can I bring a cake and hit you in the face? I said, sure, go ahead. And I knew we weren't going to be in because it was so funny. Bill and I were sitting in here on Friday morning. Got in here at 7 and it still hadn't started. And we were all going, it looks a little bit like it could kind of be rain. It was getting really close. And so we were sitting here going, man, we've really been building this up. And then we look out at about 7:20 and it starts coming down. And before I could get out of here at 8, I had to crawl in my little Camry because I didn't bring the 4-wheel drive because I thought, it's fine. That quickly. And so that's what we were talking about. But nonetheless, you kind of dodged a bullet that we didn't get as cold and didn't get as much accumulation because we very well could still be out.
Well, you mentioned schools closing on Friday.
Yeah.
I saw something that I don't ever recall seeing, but I saw a report that every school system in the state of Tennessee closed on Friday.
Yeah.
From west to east, I don't know that I've ever seen that happen in my entire career.
I didn't necessarily see the entire state, but I did see coverage areas on several of the television stations that all of our schools are out. But yeah, that does make sense because it just came right across the state. Well, even my kid that lives down in Huntsville was building snowmen, know. And that's quite unusual down there. Yeah. And so, but yeah, everybody got a little bit of snow, it looks like. So, but we're back at it today. We've got our graduation will be made up. We missed our winter graduation date, tentative date, or our scheduled date. And so we're having our graduation Saturday at 10 a.m. So that's coming up. So we're excited for those youngins, and it'll be a great day.
It will be.
So we're going to continue talking with Dr. Danny Weeks about what happened at school board meeting last night, but we do need to pause and take a break, and we'll finish up talking a lot about the weather because that's just what's been going on. We're going to talk now about Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. My friends in real estate, we talk a lot about them. Just had Jamie Nixon in here, and he's friends with them because they're up in Cross Plains, and they've been there for about 30 years, very close to 30 years if they haven't already hit that moniker. And they're just involved in everything in the community. Anything going on, you're going to see them out and about. They're just the kind of people that you want to know. You want them to be on your team. So if you're looking for a real estate, somebody to help you buying or selling, whatever it is, if you want to come to the table and say, how much house can I afford? They can help you answer those questions. Barry can market things for you because he spent 17 years as a vice president of a media marketing company up in Nashville. And so he knows how to give you the pictures, the videography, the drone footage, those walkthrough tours, all of those things to make sure your property is seen in the absolute best light so people won't miss it when they're looking. Rebecca, one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. When you get older, you start thinking, do I really want all this land? Are my kids going to ever, you start asking those questions, and she can sit down and talk you through that and kind of give you the nuances of all the things that you should consider. They specialize in Robertson County properties because they're here. They're Robertson Countyans, but they've just worked all over. So they buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky because just like me, they are originally from Kentucky. So if you want to connect with them, go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com. Or you can just give Rebecca a call, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. Always please let them know that you turned sent you. We have a lot to
December break, our office was open most every day during Christmas and mostly on skeleton crews. And, people had the option to take vacation days if they had those earned or banked or anything they needed to do. But in terms of the business in our office, most of us worked on and off sporadically around the Christmas holidays and the New Year's holidays. But last night we started off we had the group from Ridge Tots come and say the Pledge of Allegiance for the
Ridge
schools.
Tots.
So
Is that their daycare?
Ridge Tots
Yeah.
is one of it's actually a family daycare. The Watauga and Greenbrier areas have a program for staff at Watauga where
think that's
staff
wonderful.
can bring their children and they can stay at school up to a certain age before they get ready to go into our preschool programming. And so there were 3 or 4 young children from Ridge Tots that came and had learned the Pledge of Allegiance.
How cute.
And they led us in the Pledge of Allegiance last night. And we thank Miss Kelly Armstrong, the principal there at Watauga, for doing that and bringing that group out on a day that, again, school wasn't in session, but they practiced so hard and they were excited about coming down and doing that. And so we had that group lead the Pledge of Allegiance last night. Our consent agenda was pretty normal. The financial reports were looked at, the personnel reports looked at, special permissions. And again, we think about the board approves special permissions for those groups that travel either overnight or out of state. And so, there are lots of people that have already learned that they've earned that next through competitions or whatever it is. They've been able to go from a state competition to a national competition. Many of those national competitions are, in the spring. And so those are coming up and the board approved those. They also look at a discipline report every month. And so those are the students that have committed some sort of offense that goes beyond what happens at the school level and has to be dealt with by a discipline committee. And so our student services office takes care of those situations and cases, and we report that back to the board. So they look at that during the consent agenda. And then we're pleased to partner with United Way and providing some money for some staff to tutor in after school. And so tutoring money used to come from the state. The state's cut that back, and they don't provide that for us any longer. And so the ability to partner with groups like United Way who provide those funds and it helps pay the teachers, and we try to take care of some transportation needs with some of that for after-school tutoring. So all those things go through the consent agenda. And then we've started a program where we recognize an employee of the quarter. We recognize the transportation, school nutrition, and then just a general support person of the quarter. And last night, employees of the quarter, we had one of our 3 there because of the weather and everything.
Sure.
So our transportation person was Mr. Stapleton, and he's a driver that's been, I think he started driving in 2014, and has been driving almost 10 years for the transportation department, particularly helping some of the special needs students and special ed routes. And so he was recognized for his service by the transportation department. Next month, we'll pick up with our school nutrition and our general support person and recognize them. They receive a nice little certificate and a nice a gift card to go out and carry their family out to eat. So they do that, employees of the quarter. So looking there, and then business and finance, we had our mid-year meeting with our finance people and started noticing again there. I think I mentioned last time our sales taxes aren't coming in quite as strong as we thought they would be, and so there's some areas in our budget that we're watching very closely and some controllable expenses and trying to make sure we're monitoring those line items very carefully where we can control those. And so we put a budget amendment because we did receive some revenue. We received some rebates on some items, and we received some gifts and donations back from some people. And so we redistributed some of those dollars that needed to be, particularly on some line items that were getting close. Also, I mentioned the United Way grant that we received. So grants and revenues that come in like that need to be put in the appropriate categories. And so, again, that was approved by our board. That'll go to the county commission, finance committees for their review, and then on the county commission for their approval. So we did that. And then lastly, we took a look at each year the people who choose not to participate in public schooling, those that homeschool or those that go to private schools, if they live in our county, they're required to report to us that they're doing so. And so we took a look last night at a report that showed how many students, and it breaks it down by age and by grade and everything like that, by age, how many are independently homeschooling or how many are church-related homeschooling and things of that nature. And so we took a look at that report last night and shared that information with the board. And again, they're you're a couple thousand kids.
That was going to be
throughout
my
the
question.
county.
Is about how many are homeschooled?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we say homeschool and or private school.
Okay.
So both of those two combined. So
Interesting.
about 2,000 students. And so
Okay. I didn't realize that had to be reported to Robertson County
they
schools.
do. So
Okay.
so the private schools report to us the names of students that are
So
that
Good
would
Pasture
be our
reported
students
my kids back to Robertson
back
County.
to their home county.
Really?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I did not realize
Yeah.
that. I did not realize
And
that.
so
Okay.
we get that report. It's compiled. We compile the information and then we send it to the state.
Okay.
We don't go ask for it. So again, if someone
Yeah.
for those that are not enrolled for those that are homeschooled, the law requires them to self-report. And
Okay.
then for other groups, they report to us.
Okay.
And so that's a good exchange of information, particularly I remember, when I was in the classroom that first few days of school, you wonder where a certain student is, and
They've
somebody
gone here,
somebody
they've
heard
been
they
there. Yeah.
moved, somebody
Yeah.
heard they did. And so this allows our student services office kind of checks and balance to, to find students that might not have shown up. And so we know where they are.
Well, I had a student in particular that had been homeschooled and came and was doing great, and then it's just disappeared again and was gone back to homeschool.
Mm-hmm.
And that does happen,
It
you
does,
know.
sure.
And so when just like you were talking about the church base, we have Chet that meets at Madison Church of Christ
Mm-hmm.
that encompasses a lot of different things. So do y'all get a report from Chet? Because that's kind of a co-op kind of thing, I think. I'm not even really sure.
If those students are not enrolled in our
Yeah.
school system, they would
Okay.
they're supposed to report.
They're
I'll put it
supposed
that
to
way.
report from that. Okay.
Right.
That's interesting. I did not realize that it had to be reported back to the school. Okay. Definitely learned something there. So we're talking with Dr. Danny Weeks. They had a short school board meeting last night because of the weather and because we've been on break. And now we've got, this is just kind of a little sidebar. We typically will have Dr. Weeks here on Tuesday this week, and then next week will be Mayor Vogel. But because of the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, which is Monday,
Right.
the county commissioner meeting will be pushed a week down. So his visit will be a week later. So keep that in mind. But we are off Monday, right?
Yes, that
for
is
that
correct.
holiday.
That is correct.
So, and what other winter holidays do we have? We have that one,
We have that one, and then in February we're off President's Day.
President's Day.
Right.
Okay, and it's kind of about the same time. It's about the third Monday, isn't it? Is
Somewhere
it
in there,
hit about the
yes.
same way?
It does.
Okay.
And then in March we have the calendars kind of vary between whenever spring break and or the Easter week falls, and
Right.
so that kind of is there. April usually little of nothing. May
Right.
nothing at all.
Yeah,
go
that's
straight
just
through.
it. Some of the teachers were saying, we need something between spring break and graduation. Having taught 2 years, I don't, because I'm usually so busy that I'm trying to wrap things up, and I don't. And it
Right.
goes so fast.
It
I
goes
don't.
so
I have
fast.
never felt. I had several teachers say, we need some kind of a break between spring break and summer. And I'm like, really?
Yep.
It seems like it's just blink and it's gone.
It is.
And I don't ever feel like I get done everything I want to get done.
Right.
You just go, okay, we're just going to set that aside. We'll work on it next semester for those. Because a lot of these kids are coming back,
And-
are going to
and-
be back in my class. You know.
Testing windows are so tight.
Yes.
I mean, you have to, the state tells
Yeah.
us when we can test, how we can test, and all those things. And so, that's not the entire focus of what we do, but our test scores are important to us. And so, that's really that concentrated time of, going back and reviewing materials that maybe we're behind on, or catching up on those things to make sure, if we know they're going to be tested items, make sure our students are exposed to those things.
And we're talking about end of course testings, the EOCs. I love how I know what all these acronyms mean now, and it's so funny because we're very excited about Greenbrier now being a B rated school and a level 5 school. And the kids, we've talked a lot about that as we got back last week, because that news about us being a B came at the very end, right before we went to Christmas.
Right.
And they're like, well, what does all that mean? I said, it means that y'all are really taking seriously what you're doing with your testing, and it's wonderful. And I told the kids, I told them, I said, we're proud of y'all. Y'all are buckling down and seeing that these test scores matter.
Right.
And I said, and I said, it's just, I just really bragged on them, and they were kind of like, we're awesome. I said, yeah, you are, and so, that's so important. But yeah, I'm not one of those that thinks, oh, we've just got to have a break between spring break and summer. I think it goes way too fast as it is. Dr. Osborne told me we had, I said something about, man, that sure seems to have gone fast. She goes, oh, just wait until after spring break. And she goes like that. that because you got prom and all.
Right.
It's just something all the time.
Every night.
Every night there's something going on. So anyway, discussing with Dr. Danny Weeks all the things going on at the school board meeting. Let's pause for just a second. This is not actually a commercial, but I'm gonna give this big plug for my sweet friend Lee Marie. If you've not visited her place over here, the Well in the Square, and I forgot to mention this yesterday, but she's also involved with Tennessee Firearms Association. They had a great meeting last night, and it slipped up on me, and I didn't get a chance to mention it. That's every month. You need to put that on your calendar. But her dance classes, guys, she is doing dance classes at the Well in the Square, and she has all kinds of schedules. She's excellent at this. She's got a huge resume when it comes to her expertise, and so she wants to invite you out for dance classes today at 11 a.m. She's doing some daytime classes now, 11 a.m. today, and on Thursday, I say she's got them today and Thursday. She's going to do 11 a.m. line dance classes at the Well on the Square next to Crossroads Christian Bookstore. Tonight, she's also going to do some line dance classes at 6 p.m., some stretching at 6:30, swing dance class at 7. I've done some of those with her. It's an absolute blast. Classes are now only $10. You can get a $10 lesson, or you can buy a punch card and get 12 classes for $99. It's a lot of fun. I've done some of this with her, and I'm going to get in there on a more regular basis this year. I'm just determined to. It's great exercise, and it's fun, and she is very good at it. So I just want to encourage y'all to reach out to Lee Marie at the Well in the Square and go let her teach you to dance. Come on. Anyway, but now what else have you got for us to cover?
Well, that's really we always do a director's report at the end of the meeting, and again, that's my opportunity just to have a conversation like this, just what's
Sure.
going on in the school systems and helping us preview. So obviously the first thing on our mind is the winter graduations you mentioned.
Yes.
And for those people that don't know, these are students who've completed all their graduation requirements by the state and by the county. They complete those at Christmas break. And so they have identified that they'd like to go on with their lives, and some of them start school, some of them enter the military.
Yeah.
Some of them just go straight to work, and some of them have seats lined up in TCATs or places like that. But whatever their goals and plans are, we actually have a special celebration for them. And so we have a real graduation ceremony for them. Those start tonight. And again, we have one for each of our high schools, and we have one for our adult high school and our alternative program. So
Yeah.
every one of those.
Well, I wasn't sure that one didn't happen last Thursday night before the snow. Did we have one scheduled last Thursday?
It did not. We had one scheduled Friday night and
okay.
Saturday morning.
Okay,
And
because
so
Saturday
those
morning
two are
would be
postponed.
ours. And so
Yes.
whose was Friday night?
That was White House Heritage.
White House Heritage. So theirs has been moved.
Yes.
So it pretty much just moved a week, pushed a week
Yes.
down. So, but
So we're going to be busy the next
yeah.
6 or so nights and Saturday morning, and just with and again, some people say, well, why don't you just give them their diplomas? Those students deserve
you
to.
bet they deserve the
They
celebration.
want to go through that
Yeah.
time, and they get their caps and gowns just like
Yeah.
the students that are going through. And I've not counted the names on the list, but my guess is about 200, 210
Yeah.
students across the county from all of our programs that'll be graduating. And one of the groups that I really enjoy doing is our adult high school as well.
Oh yeah,
And those
I'm
are
sure.
those are folks that life happened to some time ago, and they've had the opportunity to maybe just get back in school kind of at their own pace. And Dr. Chris Winters is the administrator of that program, helps them work on their adult graduation credentials, and to see those folks that many of them have families, many of them are working full-time jobs, to come through and to receive that diploma as an adult. That's a great honor, and that's one of the programs we have tonight. And
I think that's
so
wonderful.
it
How
is
exciting. Yeah.
So
But we have like 30, I think, at Greenbrier. I'm not sure how many kids, but I know in my homeroom I had 4.
Wow.
I was like, oh, it's making me cry,
Yeah.
but I just can't hardly stand it. But yeah.
So we talk,
Yeah.
we share that with the board, and many of our board members will attend the one in the school area that they represent.
Sure.
Our districts are based on county commission districts. Our school board districts are, but our school board. One of the things that I like and enjoy about working with this board is they're not just regionalized for their school per se. They understand that the entire system has to work for all of our students. And, this year we may be working or building or working on a project in one area, but they understand that, we have to do that so that next time we move to a different area and do different things. And one of the things that I think that our administration has brought in is said, we fully believe that people deserve a quality education no matter what school they go to.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether you're in the East Robertson or Joe Burns or Springfield or Greenbrier or Coopertown cluster, we want you to be learning the same thing at one school as you learn at the other. And, teachers have the ability to personalize that with their own personalities and how they teach their class and things like that. But, if we're second graders and third graders working on our multiplication tables, we're working on that throughout the county, and we're providing that quality education throughout the county. If in biology we're studying, the workings of our hearts, we're doing that at all 6 of our high schools and knowing how that process looks and that blood flow and how it goes through the systems and how they all work together. So, that's one of the things that I enjoy about our job is trying to help, streamline that and make that, as tight and concise as it can be, while allowing teachers their own personalities to let that show through and come through of how they teach their classes.
So very good. It's exciting. We're just getting our toe into the next semester, the third quarter. That's one thing too, as a teacher, trying to get straight semesters, quarters, and all this kind of thing. It's been so funny because the kids will, Miss Vivio, they'll straighten me out, if I say it wrong, and I get so tickled at them. But I think I finally have it down. It's about time. I'm in my third year, but it's so interesting being a career teacher. It's just a different world. People I had my friend Muriel Barnett tell me the other day, we were talking about my schedule. She's one of my very best friends. And so she's always like, you've got too much on your calendar. And she said, and that's something that I told her, I said that during the school year, I've got to focus on these things and set this other stuff aside. She says, unless you have been in the classroom, you do not understand the time it takes. You just don't. Because I don't leave school. If I happen to leave school on time and go home and not open anything up until the next day, every day I go home and there's something that I'm working on at home. I'm studying something to teach the kids. I'm working on something that is school related, and people just do not realize that you take work home. You just do. And that's the way it works.
I don't know on a day-to-day basis, like I imagine a lot of your class is project based.
Oh yes.
And you do it through the computer, you do it through the broadcasting thing. But you're talking about Muriel. I know she and I are both math teachers, and so every night you're carrying papers home and grading those papers, and having to record those grades and put those in and things of that nature. But I think about our elementary teachers that are teaching science, social studies,
I can't imagine.
math,
all
reading, and all the subjects. So,
all of it.
I think about carrying home maybe 2 or 3 sets of papers to grade. I can imagine carrying home 3 or 4 different subjects of classes to grade and things like that, and getting those grades recorded. So, hats off to our staff that are working so hard every day to make sure. It's just an extension of our future. It's a community service and public servants that are really dedicated to improving our nation by providing quality schooling and quality education to those kids. It's a great profession.
And it is wonderful, and the kids are just wonderful. And I mean, some of them are knuckleheads, of course. You're going to have some, but all in all, they're all just wonderful, and they all have so much potential. Even the knuckleheads, because somebody. I love to use as an example when I have a frustrating kid, I think about my middle kid, and he's gonna get me for calling my Jedediah. He was a D1 prospect football, okay, and he made some mistakes and kind of blew it, but still got a full ride scholarship to Murray State, and he was a very good athlete, but he just did not take it seriously. He wasn't a good steward of that, and ended up going into the military and all of these things. And just, it's because teachers did not just go, well, he just didn't care. I can remember his math teacher. He was very gifted in math. And so he would sleep through the class, but still ace the test. And my husband and I had a conversation one day about a kid that was doing that in his class. I try to wake them up, and then I said, you remember, our son was that person. So don't let yourself get frustrated
Mm-hmm.
because somebody hung in there with my kid.
Right.
And so it makes you, when you get those little knuckleheads in your class, you go, because I mean, the young man couldn't be doing any better. I mean, Jedediah's doing fabulous. And I attribute it to the ones that didn't give up on him when he was, even when he was knucklehead.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's why when I have those kids that are a little bit more challenging, I remember somebody didn't give up on my kid. You know,
Right.
so yeah,
And you know, you may be showing those kids something that they don't see in themselves,
Yeah,
or nobody
exactly.
else sees in them. And
Yeah.
then, you know, I can think about too. You know, teaching math was not everybody's favorite subject,
Yeah.
and so you know, it was easy to teach the kids that wanted to learn
yeah.
and knew that, and you know, saw that, you know, maybe they were thinking about a math related career. It was easy for them to do that, but you know, the kids that struggled with it and, you know, had to
It's like,
come
why
in
do I have to take this?
and come in before school, and
Yeah.
you know, you'd have to sit there and do their homework with them and things like that. You know, those are kids that I love seeing now. And, you know, when you come back and, you know, maybe somebody's working construction and said, you know, like, I remember you teaching us those fractions and how to do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I use fractions every day, and people, you know, I know some of those concepts come back to us and we do use, and just,
Yeah.
you know, it's just such an amazing opportunity to touch families' lives. And, you know, at our district is so good about providing wraparound services to help families that are experiencing difficulties and troubles. And, you know, our school system is just it's a service to the community. And I think, you know, people sometimes forget that, and, you know, they get too focused on, you know, how do our students do, or what's our student score on something, or how does it work. But, you know, knowing we're working with people and we're working with families and trying to help everyone be better, and help us to have a better society, a better place to live for our future and our generations to come.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dr. Danny Weeks is our director of schools. If you're just joining us, so if you want to know anything about Roberts County Schools, this is the man to talk to, and you need to tune in. He is here on the Tuesday after the school board meeting, which happens on the second Monday of the month. And you can watch it. You can watch it online. You can watch it through YouTube. You can watch it after the fact, or you can watch it live, whatever you would like to do. But it's just very easy to find out what's going on in their schools if you'll just pay attention. And it's out there. Do you have anything else from a school board meeting?
I don't, other than just I shared with the board last night, and I think maybe people will find interesting too, that, you know, we talked a whole lot. I guess we talked the first half hour about getting back to school and getting back in school. Well, from our district staff, we actually started planning for next year.
Oh,
and
wow.
We'll start that
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
We start a series of meetings with each one of our principals who comes in, and they share, you know, what our progress has been year to date, and then we start talking about next year. So they're talking to their staffs about, you know, or anybody thinking about retiring, anybody thinking about not coming back that we know about. So we're already gonna start those conversations, I think, about 10 o'clock this morning, and those are, again, are individual conversations with each principal. Lasts about an hour and a half. So we talk to them about those things, talk about building needs, things they need for their building, things they need for their schools. And so that's the beginning process of us starting building our budget for next year as we look at that. And so we'll meet with all of our principals at you know, again, we take about 3 a day. Sometimes we do 4 a day, and you can imagine 4 meetings back to back.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
listening to that. And so as we do that, but it'll take us 2 to 3 weeks to get through every principal. We'll do that. And then we start meeting with each department head. And so again, department heads start bringing in their projections for next year and their budgets and things like that. So, our goal is usually by the end of February is to have a decent projection of our budget, to have that out, and get ready for the board to review that, get ready for that to go to county finance. And then we, as we start kind of wrapping that up too, we also, we get information for our maintenance department. So we collect a list of all the things that principals say are maintenance needs in their building. We get that to maintenance. For people that are projecting retiring and things like that, we turn that information over to our human resources department so they can start looking for new staff to come in and fill those positions. So that process it will actually officially kicks off today.
Okay, and that kind of answers the question, because we'll have an opportunity as staff to say, hey, this is a class I'd like to teach. I'd like to add this, and I think I've got the students that, because we look at what students are signing up for.
Yes.
And that projects what we're going to have and what we're going to offer, and can we have this, and this, and you want to teach that class, but are kids wanting to take that
Right.
class? And those kinds of things. And those questions are asked
Yeah.
within the school.
And
And
as,
so then you have to come and present it to the school board and say, hey, we think we can do this.
right.
So,
And as you talk about that, it's one of the things that we've talked about in our office is the importance of families be involved in those discussions. And, you talked about students that may not be as motivated or want to take a particular class. And, students might have a class between a regular English or an advanced English class, or, basic science versus the advanced science. And we are particularly looking at dual enrollments as well. And, how many opportunities that students have. I was talking to a student the other day that said they left high school with 28 credits of college credits. So they're actually entering college as a sophomore.
Yep.
And so with the programs that the state has, a lot of those classes are free or very reduced as compared to what you would pay out as a graduate. And so, we're talking to principals again about, finding classes that teachers can offer that have that dual enrollment capacity with that. And we're talking to families about, and we're going to continue to get that message out to families about, sit down with your students and talk about career planning, talk about goal setting. And, if you're a reader and really want to do that, let's find all those English classes we can take, and literature classes, and do all those things. And if you're math and science oriented, let's get, find those. And again, our fine arts programs are wonderful. So, getting involved and helping make good selections, not just what everybody else is taking.
I know. And we've had one of my students that I've stayed in contact with since she's graduated. She is Mackenzie. She is the youngest student in the nursing program at Tennessee Tech. And it is because she graduated before she got her high school diploma. She graduated from Austin P with an associate's degree. And so it blows my mind that you can do that. That's phenomenal. The leapfrog effect of what she's done career-wise is incredible.
It will be. Yeah.
And I mean, it's just incredible. And I hear about ones that are already in the classroom as a teacher's assistant because they've done some preliminary stuff because they want to teach.
Yes.
And it's just some great stories. I think Jack Martin's granddaughter, Hannah, that was at Greenbrier, is already somewhere in a classroom because she did some advanced stuff, if I'm not mistaken. But it just blows my mind. But it's just the opportunities for the kids nowadays are phenomenal. I pulled up the website the other day, and I love the way it looks. I love seeing the kids welding. I love seeing them do all the things. And it just, when somebody comes to this county and goes, wow, okay, that's what's going on in Robertson County schools, and it's exciting. Right. It's very exciting. Yeah. I love it. I love it. We've got just a couple of minutes before we finish up. Do you have anything else you need to mention?
Not really. Just wanted to say that we're proud to host the Mid-Cumberland, which is all the 16 counties of surrounding metro. So all the large school systems, we're going to host that group of superintendents this coming Friday.
Okay.
And so they're going to be touring some of our buildings, having lunch. I think some of our students are cooking lunch and doing some things with that group. And we're going to get to tour around a little bit. And we as superintendents rotate between counties and kind of seeing the great things that are going on in the school system there. So January is our month, so we'll be doing that this Friday.
That's very exciting. And I just wanted you to kind of just real quickly, because we only have just a minute, you mentioned so much about the families and all that. We have a family resource center. Can you just say something about that real quick before we wrap up?
We provide services through social workers to our entire community. And so the Family Resource Center is located on the campus of Bransford Early Learning Center, Bransford Avenue over just off Central here in the city of Springfield. But it serves our entire county. And so we have programs there that can help people if they're experiencing some sort of stress internally, and maybe they're without a home currently, or maybe they need to find some housing, maybe they need to find a job, maybe they just need some groceries, maybe they need some we were talking the other day about somebody helping get some clothes washed and things like that, just some basic necessities that a family needs, because we know that students that come to school when they're stressed about things at home, learning is going to be extremely difficult for them. So the Family Resource Center and the social workers and our student supports and student services, they're all there, and that's their job, and they understand their job is to remove barriers from students and from families. And it's that idea of helping a family get back on their feet so that they can do the things they need to do in order for their students to be successful. So They help parents know how to help their students in school. They help again just with some of those basic skills that families may need, and it's open. I know regular school hours every day,
Right.
and then I think there are the other days that it's open, particularly in the summer as we get ready for. Getting ready for school and helping put packages together for families and things like that. But if our families are in need of school supplies, just give us a call. We'll get you hooked up with those people.
I need to give them a time to come in here and just do the show with me. They have from time to time. And just when you were talking about the families, I thought we need to just remind people that the Family Resource Centers here, especially during the cold weather months, you got a kid that doesn't have a coat. Those kinds of things. There's all kinds of resources, but that would be a really good place to start. If you see a family that's in need, check in with the Family Resource Center, and they can, if they don't have it, they can point you to who does. Right. And they're just an amazing. I just love that we have that. Yeah. And so I just want to make sure we mention that. And anything else before we go? I think we're done. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dr. Weeks, for being here. And thank you, guys, for joining us. Tomorrow, Lacey Bue's in the house from Willow Oak. We always love talking with Lacey. She'll be here for the entire hour tomorrow. And I hope you will be as well. And get back to school, guys. Let's go. Be safe on those roadways, those still slick roads in a few spots. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless. Have a wonderful day.